Hello everyone, and welcome to my Black Ops 4 review. To start off, I'm going to be going through the menus and showing you what you can expect from the game as far as specialist characters and settings go. There's a lot of streaks returning from previous Call of Duty games, such as the RCXD, UAV, Care Package, Counter UAV, Hellstorm Missile, and Lightning Strike. Next up is the Mantis, which is a lot like the Cerberus from Black Ops 3. There's also the Sentry Turret and the Attack Chopper, the Strafing Run, which is a lot like a bombing run, the Strike Team, which is reminiscent of the paratroopers from Call of Duty World War II, and finally, the Gunship, which reminds me of an AC-130 or Mothership, except it moves across the map in a back-and-forth pattern. That's all for score streaks. Now, let's check out the Create a Class menu. For Black Ops 4, Treyarch is stuck with the classic Pick-10 system and ditched the Division-style loadouts from World War II. Over here you have your primary weapon, and below it, your attachments. One thing they've changed is that there are now secondary versions of some attachments that you must have the base version attached to equip. These secondary versions do an increased effect of the base version. For example, while the base grip lowers recoil, the second version almost eliminates it while ADSing. Over here are your secondaries, and as you can see, shotguns are now a secondary weapon, much like back in the days of Modern Warfare 2. However, both of the shotguns available in the beta were pretty terrible. Next up is your gear. This is where you equip certain boosts to your character, such as Equipment Charge, which acts a lot like the Overclock perk from Black Ops 3. Stim Shot, which allows you to heal more often and while hip firing. Comsec Device, which has the same effect as the Hardline perk from Black Ops 2. Body Armor, which boosts your health for the first time that you're damaged every life. And Acoustic Sensor, which functions a lot like the Sixth Sense perk from Black Ops 3. As you can see here, wildcards are making their return. And now to check out the equipment section. This is where you choose to either have your special issue equipment, which has no cost towards the Pick-10, or to add a lethal to your class. Next are perks, most of which are carried over from previous Call of Duties, so I won't be going over them right now. Next up is the settings menu, and as we all know, customization is important to the PC platform, and I was pleasantly surprised at the level of care Treyarch put into making the settings menu clean and easy to use, as well as in-depth. First, there's the basic sensitivity, with the option to change vertical sensitivity as well as aim-down sight sensitivity separately. You can also change your mouse acceleration and filtering to better customize your control experience. Next up is a field of view slider, which goes all the way up to 120, as well as the option to change your field of view separately for when you're aiming down sights. You can also shut off automatic weapon switching when you run out of ammo. Next up is my favorite feature of the gameplay settings, and is the option to change how grenades and other equipment is used. For example, you can change it so that Nomad's mesh gun is fired when you click after pressing E, instead of just firing the second that you release it, allowing you to be more tactical with your placement. You can also change it so that Ajax's Shield's Fortify mode is toggled on instead of held on. Next up are the keybinds, and there's nothing much that you can really add to that. It's a good system and you can change every action to whatever you want. However, in this menu, there's also the option to switch things such as aiming down sights to toggle instead of hold, which is really nice to see. And now to check out the graphics options. First up, there's your basic windowed full screen and borderless display modes, but there's also an option for extended, which optimizes the game for display on multiple monitors. Then you have your refresh rate settings, your display resolution, and your render resolution, which changes the upscaling or downscaling of the game, and is really useful if you're having trouble running it. You've then got an option for your aspect ratio, an option to turn off VSync, and the option to set a custom gameplay frame rate limit, as well as a menu frame rate limit. Scrolling down, you can change your display adapters, and a couple of other settings that we're going to go over later. Down here, you've got the option to shut off motion blur, and to change your anti-aliasing quality. And one thing to notice here is that when you click on a setting, as you can see when I click on texture quality up here, and texture filtering, but more so in model, it shows you what the different variants of the setting will look like, which is really useful if you're not quite sure what to do. Next up is an overview of the specialist characters appearing in the beta. First up is Ajax, who brings the ballistic shield, which is extremely difficult to counter as he can shoot through it while having full frontal protection. His special issue equipment, the 9-bang, works a lot like it did in Call of Duty Ghosts, except its stunning effects are much more powerful. When you select a specialist in the HQ, you'll be brought to a little screen where you can read a short bio about the character, as well as watch little videos detailing how their equipment works to decide whether or not you want to use it. There's also a little tips and tricks video over on the other side, but as of right now, that's locked. Backing out, you'll see what appears to be a customization screen, and you know what that means. Next up is Battery, who brings over her War Machine from Black Ops 3, as well as a special issue cluster grenade. Then we have Crash, whose weapon, the TAC-5, can heal his teammates or boost their health if they're already at maximum. He also drops an assault pack, which resupplies ammo and gives a bonus towards score streaks. Firebreak carries over his classic flamethrower, the Purifier, as well as adding a new special issue equipment, the Reactor Core, which works as an area of effect weapon that obscures vision and restricts healing of anybody caught in it. Nomad has his new weapon, the K9 unit, which will track down and kill enemies, as well as his special issue, the Mesh Mine, which launches little trip mine-like devices that will be set off if anybody walks too close to them. Next up, Prophet's weapon, the Tempest, functions slightly differently than it did in Black Ops 3, as it now knocks down enemies instead of instantly killing them. His special issue, the Seeker Shock Mine, will track down and stun enemies in place for a certain amount of time, allowing you to easily pick them off. Recon's weapon, the Vision Pulse, now not only works for him, but also for his entire team, highlighting enemy soldiers through walls. His special issue equipment, the Sensor Dart, works like a shootable version of the little UAV box from Ghosts, highlighting enemies in the area. Ruin's Grav Slam functions a lot like his gravity spikes did in Black Ops 3, and when coupled with his special issue equipment, the Grapple Gun, can be absolutely devastating for the enemy team. Seraph's weapon, the one-shot, one-kill revolver, the Annihilator, makes its return from Black Ops 3, as well as her new special issue equipment, the Tac Deploy, which works as a miniature spawn beacon for her entire team, but can be destroyed by the enemies. Torque's playstyle is all about area denial, and his weapon, the Barricade, showcases this perfectly, as it can block off hallways, as well as it being equipped with a miniature Guardian in the front to stop people from rushing and simply vaulting over it. As well as a special issue equipment, the Razor Wire, which traps enemies and damages them, making them an easy target to pick off. Now let's take a look at some gameplay, and I'll give my thoughts on the multiplayer and how it feels to play. Overall, I'd say that the multiplayer experience is a very good one, and reminds me a lot of a combination between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. All of the weapons are very well balanced, and it controls beautifully. I did, however, have some trouble with stuttering while I was playing, so you're going to be able to see that in my recording. This game has very high CPU usage, and actually makes it extremely difficult to record while using OBS and a lot of other platforms that rely heavily on your CPU. I was maxed out at about 100% for most of this gameplay, and you'll be able to see some frame drops during it. So I'm going to give you guys my basic kind of thoughts on the multiplayer, and then I'll leave you with just some raw gameplay until the end. I'm just playing a classic domination match here, as Firebreak. As you can see, my ability's down in the bottom middle of the screen. I've got in the middle my specialist ability, which is activated with Q, a lot like in Overwatch, and I've got my other ability, which is the Reactor Core, which I can activate with the E button. All of these buttons can be remapped, but I stuck with mostly default settings, except for slide and reload and a couple of other things.
Losing C. Securing A.
Another thing to mention about this game is that Treyarch has actually said that they will be updating it separately from different platforms, so if they're patching something on PlayStation 4 that doesn't necessarily need to be changed for PC, they're going to be able to do that on a different platform. That way it only affects the platform that it's needed on, and doesn't end up screwing over PC players for something that isn't actually a problem. Also, the RCXD I've noticed has a really big problem with climbing objects, as you can see right here. So I'm not sure if that was intentional or if it's something that needs to be fixed because of collision. Another thing to mention is that score streaks are now bound to your number keys as default, but I switched a couple of them over to H so that I could use my side mouse buttons, which are bound to my number keys, as other movements in the game. I know that a lot of people worried about the healing mechanic, but after a couple of games it becomes second nature, and I actually like it a lot more than the automatic regeneration from previous Call of Duties. It made the game feel a lot more responsive, and felt like I was more in control of my character. Also, I was extremely confused as to how care packages work, because I could not find a place where I could throw this thing down for most of this map. This map's actually really bad for calling in airdrop score streaks, because a lot of it is covered by bridges and buildings. There's like basically 3 or 4 spots where you can actually call in care packages, which make it extremely easy to camp if you know that they're calling in one. The weapon that I'm currently using right now is the GKS, which was actually one of my favorite weapons of the beta. It's a very good SMG that can be used at medium to long range. As you can see, they've switched up the scoreboard a little bit and actually changed it, but you can also see your kill-death ratio on the bottom, so it's not like it's actually made a ton of a difference. That thing I just picked up there was the assault pack that I mentioned earlier when I was going over Crash's abilities, and as you can see up ahead when I get a kill with it, it gives me 125 score towards score streaks instead of the base 100.
Losing A.
Also, something I'd like to mention is just how ridiculous extended mags goes on some guns. As you can see right here, there's no way that I should have gotten this kill, but I somehow managed to pull that off, because my accuracy was pretty potato during this beta.
Charlie.
That's basically my thoughts on the game. There's like a couple of things that I would like to see changed. One is maybe nerfing the extended mags on some guns a little bit. I never actually hit max rank on any of the guns, so I never got to check out the operator mods, which was too bad because I would have loved to be able to give my opinion on that. So hopefully if there's an extended beta, or during the Blackout beta if we're allowed to play multiplayer, I will try and get some footage of that for you guys. I'd like to say thanks for watching, and overall this has been one of my favorite Call of Duty games for a bit. I've had a lot of fun on it, and I actually am pretty sure I enjoy it a lot more than Black Ops 3 now. Oh, and as you can see right here, this is me using my reactor core, and it's radiating the enemies on the other side, obscuring their vision and making it so that they can't heal, and I actually get a kill with it, as you can see.
Half time.
Further on in the gameplay, I whip out my Purifier, but I'm not going to be talking for that whole time, so I think I'd give this game a solid 8.5 out of 10 as far as the beta goes. There's a couple of things I'd like to see changed, but it's the most fun I've had on a Call of Duty game in a long time. And I would definitely recommend picking it up if you guys have the option to. Maybe not the pre-order, because those generally tend to be more expensive than the game at launch. And about the Black Ops Pass, if anybody's still concerned about that, you do not have to pre-order to get it, as Treyarch has now confirmed on their Twitter that it'll be purchasable separately at a later date. So don't worry about the Black Ops Pass.
Taking B. A secure. Enemy took C. We've pulled ahead. Enemy has Bravo.
TACOM, requesting UAV ISO.
Losing Alpha. Securing Bravo. Taking C. Charlie secure. We lost Alpha.
Standing by.
RCXD going out.
Securing A. Taking Bravo. Losing C.
Your RCXD has
Alpha
been
locked down.
destroyed.
Location secure. Maintain current posture. We lost C. Losing Alpha. Securing Charlie. All locations locked down. Digging and Oldham. Losing C. Enemy took Alpha. Losing Bravo. We lost Bravo. Securing B.
Reactor core active.
Bravo, locked down.
Purifiers up.
Taking Alpha.
Task scale storm on that grid.
Losing C. Location secure.
Tasking
Maintain
UAV
current
support.
posture. Enemy has Charlie.
UAV standing by. RCXD standing by.
Taking C.
Care package on standby.
All locations secured. Hold your positions. Losing C.
Authorizing UAV release.
Enemy took Charlie.
Firebreak
Losing
requesting
B.
UAV support.
In return, sensors are capped to your objective.
We lost Bravo.
Deploying barricade.
UAV energy levels 50% depleted.
Securing Charlie. Losing Alpha. C locked down. Taking Bravo. We lost Alpha. B locked down. It's as good as ours. Finish strong.
Alright, you. Do your thing.
Recon kill.
Hellstorm launch authorization profit. Losing C. Another day, another dollar.